Does dressing well really increase wealth, status, and opportunity? When researching this video, I wanted to answer this question using facts, psychology, and studies to determine whether it's actually beneficial to dress a certain way. I think we're all well aware that generally speaking, we do receive better service and better reactions from people when we go out into the world dressed well versus if we look like we just rolled out of bed. But I wanted to dive deeper and see if there are actually any tangible benefits of dressing well on a regular basis and why. But before I forget, if you are enjoying my videos, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss a video. The psychology of first impressions. When we dive deeper into the benefits of dressing well, one of the topics that keeps coming up is first impressions. We make first impressions about people we interact with and observe every single day of our lives. In less than a few seconds, we make judgments about people, including their character and their behavior based on their appearance. Our brains do this to keep us safe. It's part of determining who we can trust and who we should avoid. Now, this might not matter when we are people watching or being observed by strangers in a grocery store, but what role do first impressions play in job interviews, dating, scholarship applications, and client presentations? What if you got passed up for a job because the person interviewing you didn't think that your outfit was giving professional? What if your funky outfit full of self-expression was giving unspoken cues about your personality, even if they weren't true? We notice everything: posture, grooming, clothing, and facial expressions. And within seconds, we have already answered some subconscious questions, including, can I trust this person? Are they competent? And do they belong here? Research supports this. Studies published in Dress is a Fundamental Component of Person Perception show that our clothing influences how others rate our intelligence, trustworthiness, and potential. From political elections to court trials to dating apps and hiring panels, our appearance sends signals that shape real-world outcomes. This is where personal style stops being just about fashion and starts becoming about real-world influence. Let's bring this to life with the story that we likely all know, Cinderella. If Cinderella had shown up to the ball in rags, would the prince have noticed her? Would her stepsisters have felt threatened? And would anyone have actually invited her into the room? Of course not. That's just human nature. Cinderella's transformation wasn't just magical, it was visual. She looked like she belonged in that world, and that changed how everyone treated her. The dress didn't give her a new personality, it revealed her potential in a way that others could finally see it. The truth is, people often decide who you are before you've actually said a single word, but you can use that to your advantage. Your outfit can actually whisper or shout things like, I take myself seriously, I belong at the table, I'm elegant, polished, and capable. And the good news is you don't actually need a fairy godmother, but you do need intention. Once you understand the psychology behind first impressions, you can start dressing with strategy and create a visual identity that opens doors before you even speak. How fashion influences perceived competence, confidence, and likability. Just like a messy desk can signal laziness and a clean desk can signal someone who might be very tidy and organized, our clothing signals things to others before we speak a word. We are constantly being read, interpreted, and categorized. Clothing can signal things like competence, confidence, trustworthiness, likability, and status. In one study, men wearing custom-made, tailored suits were rated as more confident and successful than men in off-the-rack suits, even though viewers were told to ignore the clothing. Even milliseconds of exposure to someone's outfit can shape deep unconscious assumptions about who we think they are. This is why what you wear matters so much more than we would like to admit. The power of status signaling and context. Something to be mindful of when dressing for influence is that you actually don't need to wear big logos, and that's because of something called context. The same luxury item can send completely different signals depending on context. For example, a 19-year-old teenager carrying a Louis Vuitton whilst wearing a tracksuit versus a 50-year-old woman in a structured blazer carrying a Louis Vuitton. Same bag, totally different message. This is status signaling, and it's been around for a long time. We all do it, whether consciously or subconsciously. It's how we communicate things like wealth, ambition, professionalism, or even rebellion without saying a word. Adam Smith, the father of modern economics, argued that the pursuit of status and wealth is near universal, and science backs this up. Low perceived status is linked to poor mental and physical health, while status-seeking behavior rises when income inequality grows. So whether it is quiet luxury, a power blazer, or even red sneakers in a boardroom, aka the red sneakers effect, your clothing choices are social signals. The red sneaker effect is essentially about someone who is extremely wealthy going to a boardroom and wearing something that people wouldn't expect them to wear. As in, someone who is so successful no longer has to actually conform to social norms when it comes to dress, because they have no one to impress anymore. So that's why someone perhaps who is a big CEO of a company, he or she might wear some really funky clothing because they don't need to look like everyone else to get ahead. But that's limited to like the 1% of the world. So, take that with a grain of salt. And now I want to talk about something that could change the way you dress forever. Creating a visual identity. How to use clothing as social signaling. Now, here's where things get really exciting. Now that we know that first impressions and what we wear matters, how do we use this to our advantage? If clothing is communication, it's time to get intentional about what message you're sending, and that starts by building something called a visual identity. Just like a personal brand, your visual identity is the consistent look and feel of how you show up in the world. It's how people recognize you, trust you, and assign value to you without you having to say anything. Ask yourself, what do I want people to assume about me before I speak? What values do I want my outfits to communicate? Do I want to appear powerful, approachable, elegant, creative, and in what industry and context will I be appearing in? Then you can curate your wardrobe accordingly. Because here is a hard truth. People will assign meaning to how you look, whether you control that narrative or not. When you take control of your visual identity, you can use social signaling to your advantage. This is why powerful people often have a signature look. When I say Sabrina Carpenter, you probably think blonde, pastel blues and pinks, and kind of like an old Hollywood glamour. When I say Steve Jobs, you're going to think of a bald man wearing black turtlenecks. When I say Anna Wintour, you probably think the big sunglasses. Even influencers that you follow probably have a signature look. When creating your signature look or your visual identity, you don't need to spend a ton of money, but you do need to be intentional. And one of the things that I noticed in all of the studies is that it wasn't that people wearing logos were deemed to be professional or more successful. It was when their clothes were tailored and they fit them well. So finding clothes that fit you well, or buying, cheap clothes but having them tailored, is a great place to start. Now, if you need help, I highly recommend going into ChatGPT and asking it to help you build your visual identity. I will pop a prompt up on the screen, and maybe I'll pop one in the description box as well. I asked ChatGPT to make a visual identity based on my goals and my interests and my industry, and I actually asked it to create a picture of outfits related to the visual identity, and it was freaky. It was freakishly good. So it's something that you can have a bit of fun with, and let me know in the comment section if you do give this a go and how much you liked or disliked the visual identity ChatGPT helped you create. So, does dressing well actually influence our wealth, status, and opportunities? The answer is 100% yes. Dressing well influences how others perceive your competence and your value. Those perceptions then shape real-world outcomes like job offers, promotions, and invitations. And over time, those outcomes shape your actual wealth and status. Your wardrobe is more than just clothes. It's your first impression, your visual identity, and your social signal to the world. If you've been waiting for a sign to level up your look, this is it. Dress like the person you want to become and let the world rise and meet you there. Let me know in the comment section, have you ever found that dressing well has helped you in your life or your career? I would love to hear your stories. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss a video, and I hope to see you next time.